The best case scenario is your product or your service is actually differentiated in and of itself. Then after you have something unique, you have to wrap around it business processes that are scalable. You have to think about what you're building your business in terms of the way that other people will receive it, and the sustainability of it is increasingly important. You have to begin to build a company around a product or a service that's different than just having something good that people might like. So in our case, and in the case of the best businesses, the product or the service itself is differentiated, and then you go about building a business that's also differentiated in the way that it works, how it interacts with its customers, how it interacts with its suppliers, how its employees are motivated, the culture, sustainability, all the different attributes that can take a great product or service and turn it into a great business. So our vision of the future is to catch rain in lots of different cities all over the United States, and then to keep that rain where we catch it as close to where the consumers consume the rain as possible. I went out and met Richard and his wife Susie and fell in love with their story, and ultimately fell in love with their products. The rainwater just tastes different than other water. Richard was the first person in the United States to get approval for bottling rainwater back in 2002, and spent the next 15 years running two businesses related to rainwater. First, a bottled water company, and second, a company to install rainwater collection systems in people's homes and businesses. So everything from your toilet to your sink to your faucet could run on rainwater. In the state of Texas, when you become a bottled water company, you have to get a public water supply. And Richard's public water supply permit that took him 4 years of back and forth with city officials was the first one in the United States that didn't have chlorine involved in the sanitation process. So he really set two standards in rainwater. One, that it could be done, that bottling water before it ever touches the ground was indeed a source of water that people should care about and deem acceptable for drinking. And two, that it could be purified without using any chemicals of any kind. We have a unique source of water that's pure, but it can be caught nearly anywhere, and it bottled in lots of different places where we could keep it close to the consumer and cut down on the carbon footprint. That's an important thing to us. We think it's the future of the way water should be consumed. It supports local economies, it supports local jobs, it adds to the sustainability of our product, and the water is so pure that the taste profile of our bottled water is just different than other sources of water. After we concluded the investment in Richard's Rainwater as CEO, I thought there were three really important things we needed to focus on as a business. First, a new package design. Second, distribution and new customer acquisitions. And third, a capacity expansion that meant if we were successful driving new customers, we could actually fulfill an increasingly large number of orders. Today, we're going to talk about those three things. What we found that we are really excited about is there are a few things where your product is better because it's sustainable. It's not something that we're doing at the detriment of our economic bottom line. Our product tastes better. We catch more water because we're more sustainable. We use less energy in our purification process. Our distribution costs are lower, and our carbon footprint is lower because of the way that we distribute the product. So everything that we do in our business is being done towards a holistic thought process around how to be better and how to be more sustainable. I think you want to find a product or service that's truly differentiated, that has what they call a moat around the business strength, that is going to be difficult for competitors to come in and replicate. The package is the first thing that the consumer sees when they're walking down the shelf or they're at the bar. And increasingly in our world today, people want to take an Instagram of what they're eating or drinking or doing. And so if you don't have an attractive product package, they can't consume your product and put it in their daily active life on social media. So, I think it's always been important. If you ask Betty Crocker or some of the longer standing consumer packaged goods companies, the package is critical to the consumer liking what you're selling. But in a world of all these social media attributes and all these social media exploits, we think it was increasingly important that the package not only told our story in terms of the words and the images, but also was something that people would like to take pictures of. And I think every great small business that becomes a larger company went through the stage where you are going door to door selling your customer yourself as the CEO or the COO or the entrepreneur that founded the company or the product or the idea. The beginning stages of it are not sexy, they're not scalable, they are truly proving that what you believe is a good product, other people believe that too. And that stage is more about tenacity and work ethic and a willingness to hear no and keep going, and a transfer of passion from you, the owner of the product or the company or the service, to your potential customers. If you're good at that, your customers start to tell other customers, and your conversations that were one-to-one start to be one-to-many. People start hearing about your business from your friends or your family or from strangers who are hearing the message and believing what you're saying and telling your story for you. I mean, you can think you know who your customer is, and you certainly should be building your company around a customer profile, but you learn what that really is the more that you're in the marketplace talking to people and talking to potential consumers. There can be no better testimonial, or there can be no better marketing tool in our opinion than one great customer telling other people about how much they love drinking Richard's Rainwater, or how much they enjoyed the way that interacting with your business from a service perspective made them feel, or the outcome that they achieved that made their job or their business more successful because of their experience dealing with you. That's the real challenge of being at a small business, is your mistakes are amplified because you have fewer back-end resources to rely upon when you hit a snag in a market or when something bad happens in production. You have to constantly be moving forward because you're creating, every step forward creates another cushion point for a customer that you lose, or for a stopping, for a rainfall shortage in Dripping Springs, or for whatever the challenge is in your business. It's much easier to withstand if you are growing elsewhere in the business. A growth plan, in our opinion, is based on two important things: an ability to attract more customers and an ability to fulfill those customers' needs with your product. In our case, fulfilling the customer needs through capacity expansion is actually just as challenging as finding more and more customers that really like Richard's Rainwater, because our scale plan is dependent upon rain, and we live in Texas and we work in Texas, and there are places like Houston where it rains a lot. There are places like Dripping Springs where occasionally it stops raining for a long time. So this was the biggest challenge for us when we made an investment in Richard's Rainwater, building a business that, if it was successful, would have scalability challenges. It was the biggest thing that we sat around and talked about. It was the largest challenge that we were tasked with as a team from our investor group, and it's probably the thing we're the most proud of 1.5 years into making the investment. So while the rainfall presents a challenge, it's not an insurmountable challenge. We know that there are partners out there that already bottle other beverages that might be looking for additional products to fill their production line. We also know there are places like Houston where there are enormous square footage buildings that sit in a place where it rains a lot. And we know we can develop partnerships with lots of different kinds of companies in places where the intersection of capital needed to bottle our product, the amount that it rains, and consumer need are intersecting. So our vision of the future of water and bottled water is one where you catch Houston rain in Houston, you sell that rain in Houston, and then ultimately the density of sales by keeping the product so close to where you bottle it will allow for unique partnerships in recycle and reuse campaigns on the back end, create something like a closed loop system where you source a bunch of the packaging materials, you source the rain, you hire the people, you bottle the water, and you sell the water all in one city. For any small business out there, especially one that's going to be run on a hyper growth mode, likely at a loss from a profitability standpoint, your ability to access capital sources, when you do that, how you do that, making sure that you're relatively conservative in the amount of money that you raise so that you never have to raise money from a weakness or a point of a valley in the peaks and valleys of running any kind of a small startup company. It's not going to go from 0 to 100 straight line. You're going to have wins and losses, and you want to make sure that you're getting partners that believe in what you're doing so that they will continue to support you in future rounds of growth capital that you might need, that understand that you're going to go through some challenges along the way, and that are willing to support the idea in a really, truly genuine way. You always need help. Nobody knows all the answers. It's always helpful to have somebody or somebodies to bounce ideas off of, to make sure that the deals you're signing make sense, to make sure that you're always thinking about not just the sales, but the costs and the people and the process, all of those things. It's impossible for one person to think of. So first and foremost, you want to build a great team around you. In order to build a great team around you, you need to have the resources to pay those people. But if you find the right investor group, if you find the right team of people that cares about what your business and your product are, you can build a great relationship that's mutually beneficial, and that they can help you take your business to places where you'd never be able to go on your own as an entrepreneur. Being able to add convenience to a great product is part of what we talked about earlier, building a great business, not just relying upon a differentiated product, but always thinking about ways to disseminate that product or distribute that product differently to make your customer interactions more direct to you versus through multiple counterparties. Those are things we always think about, and will always be striving to create more direct interactions with our customers so we can learn more about what they need and what they like about Richard's Rainwater. There's definitely questions about that you have when you're starting out. You're on your own. The resources are fewer. You are scared that you might fail. But if you really believe in the product that you're selling, and you really know that for you it's better, then transferring that passion and knowledge to other people becomes a lot easier. It's not for the faint of heart. There are times when it feels like it's not going to work, even when you're being incredibly successful. And that ability to come back to what you know, what you believe, what your passion is for your product is critical in those times of doubt. Hopefully the reasons why we think making sense of the bottled water industry are so important, how our little contribution to the sustainability of clean drinking water here in the United States, but also all over the world, is so important to us, why we think our products are different and better, and why we're so impassioned by the support we're gaining from the Houston community, the Texas community, and increasingly people from all over the United States. We talked a lot about packaging, we talked about distribution, we talked about achieving new customers, and ultimately being able to fulfill those customers' needs for your product through the scalability of your production. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about Richard's Rainwater, please visit us on our website at richardsrainwater.com.